good afternoon. My name is Fatima-Zahra Eddahab. I'm from Técnica, and today actually I'll be presenting to you the major points and also the findings of our paper co-authored by Professor Imre Horváth, and that consists of an empirical study on what the designers miss regarding the outputs of data analytics tools in the context of possible product improvement. To do so, I will first get you familiar with the topic by setting the stage, then present to you our research design, both studies that we made, the exploratory and the confirmatory one, and end up with some propositions, conclusions, and future work. So actually, the idea of our paper came from the fact that data analytics tools are reaching the industry, because actually products are generating data every day, like huge amount of data. And actually, not only the usual products are like computers and mobile phones are generating data, but nowadays there is a huge range of white goods, especially the ones that are really going towards smart and autonomous products. That's why we choose them to be in the focus of our study. More than this, the data is not only generated during the beginning of life and end of life, but also we shouldn't ignore the middle of life. That is unfortunately not that much considered in the literature, but it's the richest one since it's the one from the use, the maintenance, but also the service data, and can be generated collected directly. The data from it can be collected directly from the products, but also can be generated, collected from blog files, social media, web searches, etc. Using data analytics tools is reaching the industry, but it's not what's really important. What's important is the outputs that we want to take from these tools to use them in the context of possible product enhancement. Unfortunately, and the problem that we are facing is that product designers, they are not typically expert in data analytics tools. These actually is thwart to our question in the title of our paper. So the objective of our research is to build a unified theory explaining what do product designers miss regarding the outputs of data analytics tools. So the figure in here shows the research design of our work. So actually it is just a small part of our bigger project, which is an empirical study. So actually our study is divided into two parts. So we have first an exploration that has, first we conducted a web-based questionnaire to see what do designers really miss, and make a theory out of those needs, and then confront it with the literature to see to what extent there is a match or a mismatch between these needs. And this is where comes the confirmation part, where we are going to compare the both results. So the first part is where we prepared our interrogation. So actually what we did first is we specified the information that is needed for the study. So actually what is our target group, the objectives, the knowledge that we want to extract from the interrogation. And then after that we went to specify our interviewing method. And here also we specified not only this method, but also the method of sampling, and we calculated the sample size, the minimal sample size for our study. Later on we specified the content of our questionnaire. So here we took our objectives and we categorized them, and then we put the content for every part of the questionnaire and the relationships between them. We specified after that the structure and the design of it. So in our case it was web-based interrogation, and then we made the flow, the arrangement between the questions, and then all that was done. After doing all that, we had a first version of the interrogation that was sent to a sample size of participants to conduct our piloting study. The objective actually is to understand, to test the understanding of the questions, and if the participants really understood what was in there, if the ordering was good, but also if what we are trying to do is utile, so if we are getting the knowledge that we are expecting to get. After that, we enhanced our questionnaire, and we send it, so in the enhancement, we verified everything that was checked during the piloting, and then we sent it to our participants. All the information about the interrogation and even the calculation of the sampling can be found in our paper. So our interrogation was divided into 6 parts from A until F, based on the objectives. So the first objective, we wanted to know our participants, their companies, and if they are interested by white goods, if they are working with the white goods in their daily life, and then the kind of products they are designing, the tasks, and the company information. And after knowing our participants and companies, what's important is to know the big data they're using in their everyday life. If they know it that much, what are the characteristics of it, and then what tools are used within the company, the experience they are having with these tools, and finally, giving them the possibility to evaluate our interrogation. So, by calculating the minimum sample size, as I said, you can find it on our paper. We found, based on the participants that we contacted was 83, our minimum sample size are 18 participants. 40 completed our questionnaire, but we chose only 27 to carry on the analysis. Why removing all that number of participants? Because we wanted to, in the beginning of our questionnaire, we put a question to ask the participants if they are if they are developing white goods directly or indirectly. And based on this question, we choose the ones that were indirectly or they do use the tools, and we removed all those who don't use the tools, so that we don't have any problems with analyzing the results, so that we're sure that they are only for white goods designers. The first thing that we did is that the 27 participants that we got, we took their participations and then we categorized them. By categorizing them, we obtained something like this. So actually, I will explain it in detail, but I will start with something. So actually here, the code colors are the code for the participants, the 27 that were chosen to carry on our interrogation. And then the code colors from the section that I showed you from A to F. So here are the questions that we have, so the section plus the code of the question, and then we decided to allocate an impact to the answers of the participants to actually know which participants are really influencing our research, and also to ensure the rigor of our work. So by allocating the impact, so here we can see the impact from 0 to 10, so 0 is the less affecting, or the participant with less impact, and 10 is with the highest impact. And then we characterized our participants. After characterizing and giving impact to all the answers, then we calculated the weight of the participant to see who are influencing us. So actually the weight of the participants is the impact for every question they have divided by the number of questions with impact, because there are some questions that we didn't allocate an impact to, the questions that are just informative, or they are expressing a personal point of view of the designers. So by doing our calculation, we realized that all the participants have a weight between 5 and 9, which means that they are above the average. So our participants met the requirement for our study. So to make it clear, I choose 2 participants, and I would like to explain to you how we make this calculation. So I choose 2 participants where there are some points where they have the same impact and others with different impacts. So if we take a question, they may have different answers to one question but with the same impact. For example, the first question that was about the level of education of the participants, they were all both highly educated, so we gave a high impact, the same for both, because we believe that it doesn't make that much a difference based on this question. If we take, this is it makes sense For A3, they both answer the same thing based on how many years of experience they have in their company. So we allocated the same impact to that. And if we go to C1, for example, these questions are more important because this is when we ask the designers if they use big data in their daily life and if they are using the tools in their daily life. So this one was about if they are using big data in their everyday life. And we got a participant who answered that he is using it, so this participant will have high impact on this question. And the other one doesn't have a question, so he doesn't influence the analysis. And then to another question, also it was an important one that when they are collecting data, so here we have multiple stages, which means that even the data that we are interested in, the middle of life data is included. So this participant highly impact our work. These participants choose not to answer to this question. So the impact of it was zero because we don't have any answer on that. So by calculating the impact, so this is the calculation for the first participant with high impact and the other one with average impact, but still, as I said, more than 5. This was done for the closed question or the multiple choice questions, and what we did for the open-ended question is semantic clustering. So we used the method of coding. I can show you an example here. So we clustered the answers to the participants because we can have participants saying exactly the same thing but with different words. So what we did is to analyze their answers based on the meaning or on the clusters. So actually we derived clusters and we can see that from different nature if we take computer power, smartness, data collection. So we were open in making clusters based on what do the participants answer. So we obtained a total of 22 clusters. Here is just a sample of it. And those clusters also reflect on an idea of what my designers need with regards to data analytics tools. So after collecting, organizing, and analyzing, we have a first idea or general findings. So first, from the answers of the questionnaire, we realized that product designers don't use middle-of-life data in the context of product enhancement, or they don't know its characteristics that much. Also, the tools they are being used in the company, but not in the context of problem solving and not to improve their products. Also, data analytics tools due to security reasons, the company doesn't allow the designers to use more than 1 or 2 tools, even if there are other tools that are much better than the ones currently used in the company. So the repertoire of the data analytics tools used is limited. The participants to our questionnaire, they all, almost 99% of them, reflect the fact that even they have directly or indirectly have some problems with the user interface, the processing, and also the programming, which lead us to what we realize that it's the major finding of us that those designers play on expectations of, because one of the questions was asking them how they do expect a new data analytic tool, what they want to have today. More than the things that already exist in the tool, they reveal some expectations, and we also take those needs, and we end up with a set of 10 needs. So the first need that was revealed by the designer is the step-by-step assistance. So actually they want to be assisted during the whole usage of the tool from where they started and they end, because they don't have time to waste in redoing their analysis. The second need is also similar, but not that much, because here, since we have a variety of tools and a variety of possible options within the tools, they want, based on the data they have, to know what manipulation they have to do within the tool. For the third need, Here, data visualization, I mean, there are a lot of options, but the problem designers really encounter is that they want a tool that can tell them based on their data set in the beginning and based on what they want to achieve, what visualization option is better for them. For the fourth, fifth, and the sixth need, I'm going to group them into one because they are all related to the data management. So they want to have the possibility to blend that set, combine data from different nature and from different data sets. For the other need as well, here the permanent accessibility. So actually they want a tool that they can use at any time, at any place. To carry on their analysis, and more they want it to be adapted to the user, which means if two colleagues are working within the same company but with different products, any one of them can have his own tool or interface as he wanted to be and see whatever he just wanted to have in his tool. For the other needs, so we have the case-based reasoning, so they want a tool that's able to remember from to reason based on the previous manipulations of the tools, and a tool that's able also to learn from the previous, from the existing applications. So by clustering and characterizing them, we realize that actually we can categorize our needs. So the first, the second, the third, and these two needs in here are related to the problems of interfacing. And the 3, 5, and 6, they are related to the data management problems. And the last two tools are into the smartness. So actually the designers, they are having much more problems within the interface than what we believed when we started our study, which is more into the smart tools. So to validate our needs and actually to see to what extent what has been said by these people is also in the literature, we made a literature study as a base of validation. So actually we are not going to look for new tools, but just to see if these tools that are already exist are proper in the point of view of the literature. So as I mentioned, the objective is to determine to what extent the literature confirms what the designer says. And for a search term, we used the formulated needs from 1 to 10, as I showed before, and the focus was only on the context of enhancing white goods. So in the validation of our results, the first thing we realized is that the step-by-step assistance and advising on means of selection is identified in the literature, but no solutions are provided in the context of data analytics tools. For the third need, it's identified in the literature as an area for improvement. So actually it means that for the first two, we are validating our results. They're validated because they are mentioned as key needs. So I'm going a little bit fast. So these three elements are regarding data management. So actually they're also validated in the literature. They are mentioned, they do exist, but some of them not in our context. The three interesting was these because they were not mentioned in the literature, especially in our context, but even though they are not validated, but we believe that this is an area that we need to research further, and we are not going to give them up. So combining the interrogation and the literature study, we were able to validate our needs. And we realized that, as I showed before, that the most populated ones are the ones related to the interface. The literature, even if a lot of efforts have been done, but it remains weak in our context, which is data analytics tools in white goods enhancement, which lead us to what we believe that time has come for tailoring data analytics tools according to those needs that have been revealed by product designers. This leads the floor to almost the end. So our propositions. So actually the first thing is that to solve the interfacing problem, self-adaptive interfaces are a solution. Sophisticated data management that are able to merge data stream, facilitating data and human interactions are solutions to the data management issues, and smart data processing functionalities such as context information, situation awareness, and adaptation can be solutions or are solutions to the need 9 and 10. And in addition to all the functionalities that already exist in data analytics tools that are important, by adding by considering these new tools, we will have a toolbox that will satisfy product designers. So, for our future work, as I showed this, as I said, it was part of an overall study. So this is what we did so far. And then we believe that we might be missing something. So instead of, in the beginning, we had a bottom-up study. So from the practice, see what the theory, what is needed. Now, from the existing theories, see what is really needed, going from the literature. And in this time, the literature is not going to be used to validate, but is going to complement our research. So in this case, we will use a deductive reasoning. So the method used is an axiomatic theory fusion. So we already working on that. We have 5 theories, and we're trying to extract from them what is really missed to be able to conceptualize an informative structure framework for the development of new data analytics tools or the new generation of data analytics tools. I took more time than expected. Thank you for your attention, and I invite all to read our paper.